My name is Derek Evil. This is Addict MMA. This is UFC 97 fight predictions. This is a very special night because David Loiseau is back, baby, from the UFC to the UFC. And in his preliminary fight, which I don't normally give predictions for, and his prelim fight on April 18th, he's going up against Edward the Short Fuse Herman. This is going to be a really good fight for the prelim card, and if we're lucky, we'll probably get it on the pay-per-view event if a fight goes short, which usually it happens, and we get pretty fortunate. I got to go with David Loiseau. I got to give it to him. I think he's got better stand-up than Ed Herman. I think he's tougher than Ed Herman. He doesn't necessarily have the ground game that Ed Herman has, but if we know anything about Loiseau, you could get in this guy's back. You could triangle this guy. You'll never get a choke on him. It's just a waste of breath. So for me, I got to go David Loiseau, probably by TKO. He's going to come back, baby. He's going to come back in an impressive fashion. I got a feeling. First fight on the fight card, televised, Steve Cantwell versus Louis Kane. I like this fight because Louis Kane's been doing pretty well in the UFC. He's not a bad competitor. He's got a catchy name, Louis Kane. You can't forget that. He's going up against Steve Cantwell out of the WEC. We're getting a lot of these WEC guys that have been doing so well lately. Carlos Condit, the last one, did very well, but still came short with a split decision. I'm going to go with Steve Cantwell against Louis Kane. Cantwell is on a 4-fight win streak. In total in his career, he's got 4 TKOs and 4 submissions. I mean, the guy is phenomenal. He's well-rounded. He can stand with you. He can put it down on the ground, tap you out, pound you out. Whatever he wants, he's going to do. And Louis Kane can do the same thing. I got to give it up to Steve Cantwell. He's on a roll, and I think that this is going to be the break in that tradition where these WEC guys come out and lose. I think this is going to kind of snap that break, and we're going to see Steve Cantwell defeat Louis Kane, maybe by decision. I kind of see this fight going decision. Second fight of the night, we've got Czech Congo versus Anthony Hardonk. Czech Congo, what are you going to say about the guy? He's got a very stiff stand-up. It's effective. It's boring, but it works. It works for him. He's got more wins than losses. Thinks he deserves a title shot. We all know that's hardly the case. Anthony Hardonk has won 3 fights in a row since his loss to Frank Mir, which is now our interim heavyweight champion, getting ready to face Brock Lesnar at UFC 100. We can't wait for that. All 3 of his victories in the last 3 victories come by TKO. He's a big guy, stands 6'4", he's 240 pounds, so he's not going to be somebody that Czech Congo is going to push around. What Anthony Hardonk needs to do for this fight is to put Congo on his back and drop some bows. My predictions: Anthony Hardonk decision. Next fight, we've got Krzysztof Szynski out of The Ultimate Fighter Season 8 going up against Brian Stann, another WEC veteran. His last fight was a loss to Steve Cantwell, who's going to fight earlier this fight card. Brian Stann, has 6 straight wins before that. He also they share victories, him and Steve Cantwell. He's got 6 wins, all by TKO in the first. You know what? I mean, we haven't seen a whole lot of Krzysztof, just a little bit on the season. He showed that he's pretty good with his stand-up. He shows that he can do submission work, but at the same time, I think his skills lack a bit. He's still young. He's still got a lot to learn, and I think Brian Stann's going to take it to him. I'm going with Brian Stann, probably TKO. Now here we go. Here's the double main event, baby. The comeback, the return, the Iceman, Chuck Liddell. You know, I've never, ever in the history of my MMA watching ever pulled for Chuck Liddell, and I'm pulling for him tonight, or April 18th. Shogun, even though he's coming off a victory against Mark Coleman, I mean, if we watched the fight, we kind of realized it was kind of a loss in itself just because his cardio was lacking. He had so many times to put Coleman away, but didn't. If this is the if this is the Shogun we're going to be seeing, I got to give it to Iceman, because basically this is kind of a tailor-made fight. Shogun's a real aggressive, get in there, come after you type of guy, whereas Chuck Liddell will ease back, stay patient. What Shogun needs to do to win this fight is obviously fight a smart fight, and he's to stay back and he's kind of pick his punches, kind of goat Chuck Liddell into him. I don't think it's going to happen. I've never seen Shogun fight like this. He's overly aggressive. Now, I mean, if he gets in the clinch, that might be a different story, but I see Chuck Liddell as a stronger athlete in this particular fight. So I got to go with Chuck Liddell. I see this fight going to the distance, but I don't see it ending with a decision. Somebody's going to go home, you know, with a decisive loss this evening. I'm going to give it to Iceman victory by probably KO. And in the main event, we have Anderson Silva defending his middleweight belt against Thales Leites. There's not really a whole lot to say about this particular fight. Anderson Silva's a beast. He's a legend almost in the making here. He's been undefeated since he stepped foot in the UFC. And he's going against Thales Leites, who I think a lot of us didn't expect to see Taos Leites as a guy fighting for the middleweight title. He's up and he's down. He's got wins. He's got a couple losses. Kind of that mediocre. He kind of stays under the radar. So, yeah, hey, I got to give it to Anderson Silva. KO. Probably in a first, if not second. And that's it. This has been Addict MMA. Thanks for watching.